Wars are a quite common occurrence in history, whether it be they broke over land, wealth, etc. But you also get ones like this, that broke out over an ear. Okay, actually no, it is a little bit more complicated than that, and the title's kinda just clickbait, as the actual cause of the War of Jenkins' Ears is a lot more complicated than the name would suggest. But first, some background. In the 1700s, Britain and Spain were not on the best of terms, especially stemming from their disputes in regards to access to markets in the Americas. Remember, modern economics weren't exactly something that was in those days figured out. Well, and it probably still isn't. So trade back then was seen as a finite resource. The logic here being that if any nation increases their trade, it will in turn decrease the trade of everyone else. So because of this thinking, the idea was that you wanted to minimize or entirely prevent other powers from trading in your economic sphere. The 1713 Treaty of Utrecht had some provisions in it to allow British market access in Spanish America, though the bulk of trade actually happened between the British Isles themselves and the Spanish mainland. One London merchant from the time was quoted as saying trade with Spain was, quote, "our best flower in the garden," end quote. So the trade was a bit too big to fully slam the brakes on, but that didn't stop the Spanish from doing their best to stymie it, which led to certain restrictions on British traders that the Brits would have rather done away with. Now, both Britain and Spain in this conflict were very concerned about one thing, their security. And honestly, who isn't? Okay, maybe you don't have to worry about your trade ships being raided by Spanish privateers, but you absolutely can have your internet privacy raided by internet service providers, network administrators, and government censors. In this era of increasing encroachment on our internet privacy, reclaiming your internet freedom is incredibly important. That's why I want to introduce you to private internet access. It is a VPN service that changes your IP address and reroutes your internet traffic through an encrypted tunnel, protecting your data. Private internet access is the world's most transparent VPN provider, with over 30 million downloads. They never record or store user data, and their no logs policy has been proven multiple times in court. It is the most customizable service on the market, allowing you to make your VPN experience truly your own. Signing up for private internet access is risk-free. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, plus their highly skilled customer support team of experts is available 24/7. If you're still not completely trusting, well, I have good news for you, because private internet access is 100% open source, so you can go dig at it all you want to see just how secure and private their service really is. Almost no other VPN is this transparent. If you're like me and like your travel, this is also a great service because they have world-class, next-gen server infrastructure in over 75 countries, meaning you get a secure, reliable VPN connection anytime, anywhere. Go through my link to support the channel and get private internet access VPN for less than $2 a month and 4 extra months for free, which means it'll be only $198 a month and 83% off. It'll be in both the description and pinned comment below. Massive thanks to PIA for sponsoring this video. The 1729 Treaty of Seville allowed the Spanish to board and inspect British ships headed to the Americas. This led to an incident in 1731 when a certain Captain Jenkins claimed his ear was severed by a Spanish privateer because he was caught with contraband. Now there is a big emphasis on claimed because there is actually no proof the Spanish cut it off. Like the dude could have had it bitten off during a boxing match or something and was just too embarrassed to admit it. Tensions also increased after the founding of Georgia. No, the other one, by the British, which the Spanish saw as a threat to Spanish Florida. Things also got more heated after some more high-profile depredations by the Spanish, which inflamed the British public. But in 1739, everyone got together and set up a commission to set aside their differences and smooth things out. A pretty satisfactory compromise was made where Spain would compensate Britain for the seized ships and the British government-owned South Sea Company would pay the Spanish king £68,000 for his share of the profits in their trade. But despite being owned by the government, the South Sea Company, just like Amazon with taxes, said screw it and refused to pay, which meant things were heading to war. So you're probably wondering what Jenkins' ear has to do with this. Well, he was brought to Parliament by the Warhawks, who paraded him and his severed ear around. Now again, there is skepticism that the Spanish were the ones who cut off his ear, but it was definitely enough of a spectacle, along with the addition of the seizure of British ships by Spain and other grievances, to be included in the British casus belli for going to war with Spain, with war being declared on October 23rd, 1739. Oh yeah, but like right before declaring war, the British did a sneaky and attacked some ports in Venezuela, almost like a British prequel to Pearl Harbor. British Captain Thomas Waterhouse had what he must have thought was brilliant, plan to attack the Spanish port of La Guaira by flying Spanish flags so he could sail into the port and sneak attack the Spanish. Except the Spanish totally realized that they were British ships and fired anyways, leading to him having to retreat. The British then attacked the Spanish port of Portobello, which actually worked for them this time, and they burned down all the Spaniard stuff. Fun fact, someone made a little song about this called Rule Britannia. You might have heard it before. High on victory, British Admiral Vernon wanted to go after Spanish gold reserves in Colombia by taking Cartagena de Indias. But then his attack failed and the British had to retreat. So the British tried again a few months later, and guess what? They failed again. Though the British had some better luck with the fortress of San Lorenzo el Real Charjes, which is in present-day Panama, which the British successfully burned to the ground. Because third time's the charm, the British tried again with Cartagena de Indias by sending a force of 186 ships, literally the biggest naval force ever assembled at the time. At first, things are going well, with the Spanish surrendering many of their positions. In fact, the British admiral in charge expected a full victory, so he sent a message back to London saying they basically had won the battle, which then caused the government to print a bunch of medals depicting the British victory. Well, that was until things went upside down and the Spanish gained the upper hand. With the help of a yellow fever outbreak, the British lost 6,000 troops to the Spanish's 1,000. Also, fun fact, George Washington's half-brother, Lawrence Washington, was a commander in the battle for the British. In fact, when he came back to Virginia, he named his estate Mount Vernon after his former commander. But the British ended up hitting a jackpot in the Pacific when they captured the yearly Spanish Manila galleon with over 1 million gold coins in it. This was brought back to Britain, along with the 1/10 of the crew that actually survived the expedition, though this was kinda offset by all the Spanish looting of British ships in the Atlantic. North America was also not missing out on the fun, with the Georgian militia attacking a Spanish fort in St. Augustine, Florida, which failed. So then the Floridians tried to counterattack, and that also failed. The British tried attacking Cuba, but that failed too. So as you can see, it's a pretty common occurrence in this war of things starting then kind of just fizzling out, which is pretty much what happened to the conflict in its entirety. In 1742, the War of Austrian Succession broke out, which kind of diverted the attention of both powers, leaving the War of Jenkins' era as kind of a side thing, with little fighting occurring in the Americas after that. The end of the War of Austrian Succession essentially ended the War of Jenkins' era, with really nothing changing between the two sides besides an end to British smuggling in the Americas. So yeah, you can thank an ear for causing all this death for pretty much no gain. Massive thanks to PIA for sponsoring this video.